Hey guys, if I asked you today, what are your main hobbies? You might say to me, Ken, I love baking. Or you might say on the other hand, Ken, I really like cooking. And if you're slightly unusual or different, you might say, Ken, I actually love to collect stamps. Whatever your hobbies are, I'd love to make one suggestion for today. If I had to suggest one hobby to take up, like this slightly unusual one, it will be to collect assets. Now, why on earth am I focusing on assets? When you look at the definition of what an asset is defined as a source of future economic benefit. The key word there, or words even, are the words future and the second word benefit. In effect, assets are there to do the heavy lifting in your life. Now, I'd love to draw little diagrams to help me just understand certain concepts and even try to communicate them. So right now I'm going to pop on the screen what I think about when I think of the word assets. Because in my life, I'm a collector of assets. With my wife Mary, we collect small assets and larger assets. I see assets as the things that help to protect aspects of your life. You are right there in the middle. And life's challenges, the expenses that surround your life are coming in to attack. The assets in that triangular shape are there to protect you, to defend you from life's key worries. Life's worries when it comes to expenses. Assets, in effect, think of them as the generals in a battle, and those generals are there working for you and protecting you and helping you win that battle. In this case, assets help you win the battle in your finances today and in the future. Assets are there to help you create generational wealth. They'll help you achieve financial independence. They will in effect help you outsource money making to something else, something much more reliable that will be working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days per week. So today I want to share with you guys 5 of the best income generating assets that I would invest my money into today. If I had £50,000, £10,000, £1,000, even £1, in my mind, I'm thinking of collecting assets. Now, what on earth do assets have to do with passive income? What we've learned in our own personal journey is that the Pareto principle also applies when it comes to assets specifically. The Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, which is the law of the vital few, states that roughly 80% of effects come from around 20% of causes. So for example, in business, we know that around roughly 80% of sales typically come from around 20% of clients. You might see this also in football. Around 80% of the income from football games typically comes from around 20% of the super fans. You see this again in churches. Around 80% of the donations to churches typically comes from around 20% of the attendees. Now I'm mentioning this because what I've learned in my own life of investing into various assets and also just learning from my friends who've also been on this journey is that I've learned that around 80% of the passive income that we generate comes from around 20% of our income generating assets. That then makes us think, that means that the assets you choose to invest your money in truly does matter. Now let's start at number 5. And number 5 is to invest in property. So physical property units themselves. There are a variety of strategies. I'm sure you've come across these various strategies, whether it's that you're buying a buy-to-let or a house with multiple occupancy, or you're even exploring a form of rent to rent. Now, the strategy you choose would vary depending on what your ultimate goal is, whether you are somebody who's investing for capital appreciation. But if you're watching this video, you're likely somebody who's looking for income. So your strategy would most likely be that you're investing primarily for income. And if that's the case, then your goal should really be all about finding the right areas, the right locations that are not costing you too much money. So not like a major city necessarily, like London or other major cities around the world, but you're finding those other gems, slightly cheaper areas, but that have a much higher yield from a rental perspective. Now, I mentioned property investing because for me personally, when you think about it, if you really think about why property investing works for the people it works for, the reason it works is really down to leverage. Property investing, in my personal experience, is all about people management and relationship management. What do I mean specifically? From a people management perspective, I'm talking about creating a team. If you're somebody who's really looking to invest in property, it's really all about building the right team, whether it be estate agents, brokers, solicitors, people like that, accountants, that you can reach out to if you are somebody who's assessing a specific property deal. On the other hand, I talk about it being all about relationship management. What I've learned really when it comes to property, when you think about it, the leverage really comes from using other people's money. And of course, that really is all about building real relationships. If you're really going to go into property investing, building relationships with people as a way for you to generate capital, as a way for you to get access to a form of capital. That relationship could be with, a lender. It could be with other people who are interested in this area of property investing, so you can go into joint ventures with them. It could be with all manner of people. Essentially, there are lots and lots of people out there with lots of money actually looking to make investments, but a lot of them don't actually know how to go into this area of property investing. So the key is to find an environment where you are essentially getting to know other people who are like-minded individuals who you can discuss property deals with. You can explore and actually learn this journey of property investing and actually get into the trenches and do your first deal. It might be that you do, a fairly cheap property of less than £50,000 in value, somewhere cheaper like up north, for example. But the key is that you are learning that skill and exploring what it takes for you to be able to raise capital. And of course, a passive income element, and it is completely semi-passive, comes from the rental income that you derive from eventually closing that deal and then renting that property out specifically. It's worth mentioning actually that from a UK perspective, property investing, if you are a basic rate taxpayer, given all the changes that have been happening from a tax perspective, is actually well suited to you if you are a basic rate taxpayer. But if you're a high rate taxpayer, then you're more likely to start to invest in property via a limited company. But again, do the research for yourself when it comes to this idea of investing in property. Now, I should mention, if you're somebody who's looking for an environment where you might have people who are of the same mindset when it comes to investing in property and things like that, we've created a property subgroup within Financial Joy Academy where we meet on a monthly basis on the first Friday of each month, specifically to talk about property investing, property strategies, and the opportunity for you to get to know people within our community and look to do joint ventures and raise capital to invest in property. If this is something you're interested in, I'm going to put a link below and above to our community at FJA for you to head over and check it out if this particular thing is of interest to you at all. Number 4 would be to invest money in websites. Now, I mentioned websites because it's a really interesting one. It's a low-cost opportunity that pretty much anyone can get started with. Whether you go to GoDaddy or to any of these websites online where you essentially buy a domain name and aim to start a website. But the thing to note, though, that it's not just about starting a website. The thing about starting a website is that you've got to see the website as almost the front door. But behind that door has to be something of some value, a business. So for example, think of the Humble Penny, think of our website and things like that as the front door. And behind that is a financial education, a media and a training business that exists to create value. And that value is then what then helps us to generate an income because we're solving various types of problems for people. And an exchange then happens for us to generate an income. Now, I mentioned websites because it's it's a semi-passive source of income, but the beauty of websites is that websites, again, employ leverage. They employ the leverage of media. And the more you create media and the more you build the right systems into a website, such as you creating evergreen sales funnels and you use effective digital marketing and things like that, you will find that websites over time become a highly profitable thing for you to explore. Not looking to brag or anything. When I think about our personal journey, there's absolutely no day that goes by, no single day that goes by that we do not generate an income online passively because we started this journey by creating a website. Obviously, over time, that website has developed, it's grown to become a brand. And as a result of that, starting a website has then led us to generate various forms of income, such as ad revenue, membership income, selling courses online, affiliate income, and various things like that. If you are someone who is looking to do something slightly different, whilst also learning a skill that will matter for tomorrow, then I'd highly recommend getting started with exploring this idea of starting a website that could generate you an income online. I'm going to put a link below and above to a website you can head over to get your free domain. If you're somebody who wants to start a website but you're not quite sure where to begin, this link I've just shared will help you get a free domain, but you do have to pay for some hosting, which is actually quite cheap at around £2 something per month thereabouts. Check it out again in the links below and above to get started with that journey of creating your own website. Number 3 would be to invest in index funds and ETFs. This is what we talk about a lot here on this channel. I probably don't even need to tell you a lot about what index funds and ETFs are. But if you are completely new to index funds and ETFs and you really want to understand them and understand how the stock market works and things like that, I'm going to put in the links below and above to a video we've made for complete beginners. Head over and check that video out because that video is a really good introduction into how index funds work and how ETFs work. We've also done a comparison, which I'm going to put in the links below. In case you wonder where the passive income element comes, index funds and ETFs, depending on what you invest in, lead to you generating dividends. And of course, the more tricky thing about investing into something like this is that the dividends you receive at the very beginning is quite small, depending on how much money you're investing. But the beauty of investing your money through the stock market, as we've talked about, time and time again on this channel, is that you have the power of money working on money. The power of compounding really then kicks in over time. And you start to find that although what you're getting is quite small by way of dividends, provided you are reinvesting that, then that money has that capacity to get to work and truly work for you over time. In fact, I think of stock market investing as one of the truly passive sources of income because you're really just putting money to work. But of course, you have to do work in the first place to earn that money. And then once you invest that money then has that capacity to build, provided you are patient and you give that money time to work. Now, I should mention though that one of the real beauties of thinking quite holistically and this idea of collecting assets is that the first 2 ideas I mentioned are key to actually really accelerating this journey of investing in the stock market. I found it to be so valuable to think of starting something like a website and that website generating money for you into a limited company and you then using that limited company as a way to perhaps invest through the stock market, which is idea number 3, by doing it via a company, pension, or even doing it by extracting money and investing it through your ISA. There are so many possibilities. But the key thing is not to think of these ideas just in silos. Think of them as connected ideas in different ways. But the key though is to begin with just one, which is what I'd love for you to end this video with and to say to yourself, do you know what, Ken? I'm actually going to take you on this idea of actually collecting assets. I'm going to make collecting assets one of my new hobbies, and my goal is to focus on collecting asset number 5 or number 4 or number 3 or whatever. But choose something that you really want to focus on and make it a goal of yours for the next few months to focus on investing in that specific type of asset. Number 2 is for you to invest your money into real estate investment trusts, or REITs for short. Now, REITs are a way for you to actually invest in property as an asset class without actually owning physical property assets, as I mentioned earlier. A REIT can be traded on the stock market. So in many ways, it's actually quite similar to investing into an ETF, except the money you're investing into a real estate investment trust is typically focused on just investing in property. In the same way that you become an owner when you invest into physical assets, or if you invest into stocks and shares, you also indirectly become a landlord in effect when you invest in a real estate investment trust, which then goes off and purchases specific property assets in a specific area or across a number of areas. Now, the passive income actually comes from dividends. Real estate investment trusts are required to distribute over 90% of its earnings to shareholders. But the thing to watch out for is that REITs can take on quite a lot of debt because they typically have to pay out, like I mentioned earlier, over 90% of their earnings to shareholders. So just keep an eye on that from a net asset value perspective. But other than that, REITs have been known to be an alternative way to get access to the property sector and generate dividend income from your investments. So number 1 would be to invest in basic, boring businesses. These are the type of businesses that we interact with on a daily basis. It could be a kebab shop, or it could be a dry cleaners, it could be an ice cream company. The list goes on. In the same way that you and I might invest in public companies by investing in the stock market, you are also investing in a company when you put your money into these basic, boring businesses. Because what's really happening is that you become an owner of the equity part of the company. You own shares in that company. And owning those shares give you the rights to earn dividends. And that dividend income ends up being much more tax efficient than other ways that you might ordinarily earn an income. If you're interested in starting a business, check out the video we made previously on how to start a business step by step. I'm going to put a link to that below and above for you to head over and check it out. If you're somebody who says, Ken, I don't have any money, how on earth can I start a business? Well, I've got something for you as well. Check out in the links below a link to a video we made previously called How to Start a Business, you've guessed it, with no money. Check it out because honestly, there's absolutely no reason why everybody cannot explore starting a form of a business. It can be quite a small business or something that has the capacity to grow quite significantly in the future. Now, there are many more income generating assets that I could have talked about in today's video, such as peer-to-peer lending, or even you exploring short-term rentals. I'm gonna put a link below to a blog post I created, which is super detailed and outlines all these various ideas I mentioned in a way that you can digest it a lot deeper and at your own pace. Head over and check out that blog post if this area of income generating assets is something that you definitely want to check out. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you really enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button because that just encourages many more people to watch our videos. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you love what we do at Humble Penny and you really want to show love for the work that we put into making each one of our videos. Thanks again for watching today's video, guys. And as ever, in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Take care and bye for now.